What lots of people don't realize is how all-encompassing and how suffocating it is to be a Muslim in the UK.
Well, Nadia, if the UK is such a racist country, why are you here? Why are you here? Why haven't you packed your bags and left yet?
Yes.
If I found the
You could
UK
go
to
to
be a very
Bangladesh tomorrow.
exactly, you can leave. If I found the UK to be a very racist country as a black woman, I'm out of here. I'm not wasting no time.
Developing today. Former Great British Bake Off winner Nadiya Hussain has sparked fury in recent months with her continual anti-UK posturing after she was given an incredible life and career in this country. Of course, so much of this has resulted from her dumping from the British Bashing Corporation and the fact that she is now taking on a more, shall we say, outspoken approach to why she thinks the UK is some sort of racist hellhole as a Muslim woman. But of course, you can understand why ordinary Brits are absolutely furious about that, given that it was this country and the people of this country that gave this woman, let's be honest, a mediocre baker at best, a huge career. Star power, top-rated TV shows, best-selling books. Where was the racism, Nadiya Hussain, then? But in a brand new podcast interview released today, there is more dumping on the UK going on from what I now view as a very ungrateful woman. Watch.
There are 3.9 million Muslims living in England and Wales. So it's 6.5% of the population, massive amount of the population. And the anxiety rates for young Muslims, depression rates for young Muslims, according to certain data sources, were 50% or higher versus 25% for the population, right? Standard population. So you see significant levels of depression, anxiety, suicide ideation, suicide thoughts. So how does society, one is I'd love to know, why do you think that is? In particular here in the UK, but then also how does then society shape your faith? So in particular for your children, facing this, they're in that young, that 16 to 30 group, right? How does all of that shape their faith?
What lots of people don't realize is how all-encompassing and how suffocating it is to be a Muslim in the UK.
Now, of course, that is not the fault, according to Nadiya Hussain, of the Muslim community at all. It's the fault of us. It's our fault. It's difficult for her to be a Muslim in the United Kingdom because of us. Now, remember, this is a woman whose parents were born in Bangladesh, who I think has had a privileged life as a result of our mass immigration policies. And what is also interesting to note, that it was Hussein herself who decided to start wearing the hijab at age 14, and she did so not for some great religious reason at the time, but because she admitted that she'd had a bad haircut and she wanted to cover it up. Yet Nadiya Hussain in this podcast makes it very, very clear that it is the fault of the British population for the fact that she believes that she experienced racism and that it's tough being a Muslim in the United Kingdom. Watch. Can you believe that more than half of you are watching this video but not subscribed? So please do me a huge favor, click the subscribe button now, turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to all of our brand new Outspoken videos.
In terms of my kids, they've probably experienced more racism at a younger age than I did. The first time I ever experienced racism was the day the Twin Towers came down. I was in college. I was 18. I was walking home, and two white men stopped their van, parked up, screeched to a halt, came out, spat in my face, and drove off. And I cried all the way home, and I had no idea what happened. And I was sobbing, and I came in, and Dad was watching the telly, and Dad said, "Oh, this is what's happened." And it just like, oh. And it has never stopped since. But my kids have experienced more racism at a younger age because, they've been called terrorists and, they'll wear their Friday robes for Friday prayer. And it's a battle that we're going to fight for the rest of our lives. And I'm not surprised that the depression and the anxiety is so high amongst Muslims because I don't think people realize the battle that we fight every single day.
Okay, to my superstar panel, Base and Bougie and Stef, the alternate. Look, Base and Bougie, I don't like the new Nadiya Hussain, I'm going to be honest, because she's someone who now seems to be on a tour of grievance after being someone who, as I say, I think was given huge amounts of fame, huge amounts of support, beloved by the mainstream media, on the covers of mainstream magazines, the cover of newspapers, because we liked her cakes, okay? All of a sudden now, here's the UK, a terrible, terrible racist country. And I think what particularly, in her view, by the way, but I think what particularly gets to me, Based in Bougie, about this, is that they're talking about depression rates amongst Muslims in the United Kingdom. Now, is it not possible, Based in Bougie, that the reason that the rates of depression amongst Muslim people in the United Kingdom are so high is because they are subjected to terrible, terrible religious practices, which include, if you're a woman, having to cover up, having to be treated as a second-class citizen. If you are gay, having to hide who you are. I mean, I would argue there's lots of reasons why Muslims in the United Kingdom, especially young Muslims, might feel depressed, but to blame it on racism coming from the British people, I believe is intellectually dishonest. But how do you feel?
I have three questions. First and foremost, who did this study? I mean, I find that a lot of people are always talking about the data this and the data that. What person actually went around to every single Muslim person in the UK and checked the temperature of each Muslim person's depression? That is not realistic, okay? And like you said, if they are depressed, it's because they are following if they are depressed, it's because they are following a very oppressive ideology. That's why they're depressed. Second of all, Nadia, if the UK is such a racist country, why are you here? Why are you here? Why haven't you packed your bags and left yet?
Yes.
If I found the UK
you could go to
be
Bangladesh tomorrow.
Exactly. You can leave. If I found the UK to be a very racist country as a black woman, I'm out of here. I'm not wasting no time. But these people keep crying about racism and being a victim to racism and this and that. But yet you're still here. Clearly it's because the country is not a racist country. And she also mentioned the fact that she was spat on because of the 9/11 incident. That's a hate crime. And when a hate crime happens, you can report it to the police. And she didn't. Why didn't she report it to the police? I challenge Nadia right now to report that to the police if it was such a serious hate crime. Maybe the reason why she didn't do it is because maybe it didn't happen, or maybe she's over exaggerating the story. If a hate crime has happened to you, report it to the police. But these people continuously complain about these hate crimes that are happening, but never report on it. So I don't like this victim tour that a lot of these people are doing, where they keep whining about racism whilst continuing to live in this country. Pack your bags and leave.
Yeah, I mean, I find that story, the 9/11 story, very hard to believe. Very, very, very hard to believe. I would probably file it under the in the case of things that never happened, but obviously. Who knows? Stef, your view on Nadiya Hussein's new tour of grievance?
Oh, it just reminds me of our favourite Dutch ass of Monty Shit's show. I'm a victim, I'm a victim, I'm a victim. Victim, 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 victim. That's all I'm hearing right now from Nadiya Hussain in her insane tirade against the BBC. All right, her show got cancelled. It wasn't doing well in the ratings. That's the reason. That's it. There's no other inferior kind of situation behind it. She says, we're depressed because of this, that, and the other, and we're depressed because of the British people, blah, blah, blah. No. Like you said earlier on, Dan, maybe, Muslims are depressed because of the restrictions and rules they have to live within due to their religion. And I would say it's tough being a Muslim and female, full stop, because what they're subjected to at times in the name of their religion, as far as I'm concerned, it's absolutely insane. I just did a quick Google search, and there's this Muslim Women's Network UK, and they've consistently reported domestic abuse as the #1 reason for calls to their helpline. Not, oh my goodness, there's this evil British lass, and she's doing this, that, and the other. No. It's domestic abuse. In 2019, 32% of calls to this Muslim Women's Network UK was related to domestic abuse. But no, Nadiya Hussain ain't going to be saying that. But just to add on a little bit here, our favourite Duchess must be watching this. And I wouldn't be surprised if she actually follows this same playbook as Nadiya, because new reports are coming through with Netflix sources saying that her deal is now dead in the water because of the lack of viewers, and that the With Love Meghan failure is the final nail in the coffin. So I won't be surprised after she gets dropped by Netflix that she follows the same playbook as Nadiya here.
Yes, exactly. It will be racism, won't it? Netflix axed me because of racism. I think it's also worth pointing out, right? And by the way, I mean, I'm not one to judge, but Nadiya Hussain married a bloke who she'd met once, okay, because it was an arranged marriage. Now, again, that must surely be pretty difficult if you've grown up in the United Kingdom and you're living amongst a sort of Western, very civilized society where young women have freedom of choice to marry who they want to. I wouldn't be surprised if that did contribute to a degree of depression. And even though Nadiya Hussain did go through this marriage to Abdul Hussein, a guy who she'd only met once, and she did go on to have 3 children. In this podcast interview, which I did find very depressing and dark, actually, she admitted that previously she had never wanted to do either of those things. Watch.
Child after child in the hope to bear a boy. That's not the life I wanted. I was like, no thanks. I don't want to be a wife. I don't want to be a mother. I just want to study. I just want a career. I just want to make loads of money. That's it. I don't want to do any of that. I was like, it was the most unappealing thing. There was not one maternal bone in my body. I was like, don't want to marry, don't want to have kids. Not going to do it. I just wanted to go to university. That was it. And my mum said, if you go to university and you leave this house, I will change the locks and you will never set foot in this house again. And when you're 18 with no financial backing, no money, no savings, that's a really scary thing to hear. When I didn't go to university, I rebelled in the best way I know, which is to go quiet. I went completely quiet. Nobody knew what was going on in my head. Not one person could say they knew what was happening in my head. I went quiet. I isolated. Definitely, like I was in the throes of depression at that time, hugely.
Okay, so look, let's be honest. We know what's going on here based in Bougie. You only had to watch a little bit more of this podcast to actually work out what the real depression was about. It's not about the United Kingdom. It's not about racism towards Muslims. It's about the fact that you are really struggling to live this lifestyle where you, even in a very modern Western society like the United Kingdom, because you are following the Muslim religion, are unable to do a lot of things that you feel you should be able to do. And that is clearly the root cause of the depression. So I feel like she's almost answered her own question within this podcast. But first, we've been told our whole lives that wrinkle creams were the easiest way to look younger. Now one doctor says that's nothing but old news. According to Dr. John Lake, the world-renowned Beverly Hills beauty expert, most wrinkle fixers on the market are nothing but glorified moisturizers. He says they hardly make a dent on your appearance. Some, check this out, can even be harmful to your skin. Recently, Dr. Lake has focused his attention away from mainstream cosmetic practices so he can pursue a revolutionary anti-aging breakthrough, one that some experts say could empty the wallets of the cosmetic industry. He describes it as almost like Photoshop for your face and says you may even be mad after seeing how easy it is to visibly erase your wrinkles from view. His personal clients have dubbed his new do-it-yourself technique the age rewinder method because it can take years or even decades off your appearance in under 2 minutes. In light of this amazing breakthrough, Dr. Lake has released a step-by-step video to the public. It's free, it's uninterrupted, where he outlines exactly how to use this simple solution from home. And he says if it helps even one person look younger or feel more confident, he will be thrilled knowing he helped. The video has since gone viral. At first, it was shared by users on Facebook, but since then, it's racked up over 2.3 million views and counting. The comments and feedback have been outstanding, with thousands of women reporting they look decades younger. One even commented, "Best results of anything I've used. I can't believe how well this works. I'll never stop using this. I don't understand how it works, but the results are great. Thank you." So you can find out more about this yourself right now. Just go to bhmd1.com/outspoken. That's BH bhmd1.com/outspoken, or click on the link in the description box below. Now, there is one thing Dr. Lake asks from his viewers. If watching this video helps you look and feel younger than you have in years, then please share this video with your friends and loved ones. Together, we have the power to help as many women reclaim a youthful look as possible. So go watch the video at bhmd1.com/outspoken right now, or just click on the link in the description box below. But now, back to the show.
It's actually so hilarious how much she just exposed herself. Not only exposed herself, but she exposed the lies of this fake statistic. Like I said in the beginning, who is going around and measuring the temperature of depression of all these Muslims is not realistic. The reason why you was depressed is because you are following an oppressive religion and ideology. Okay, if you actually go in deep into this religion, a lot of the things are very backwards. Okay, whether it's arranged marriage, whether it's marrying a 6-year-old, whether it's women having to cover up head to toe, whether it's women being forced to be housewives. I'm not saying there's anything wrong to be housewives, but here in the UK, you actually have the option to be a housewife or not to. But with her, she didn't have an option. That was what was making you depressed, not a typical guy called Katie and Johnny who live down the street and have the Union Jack hanging down their window and just go to the pub 5 days a week. That's not the root cause of your depression. But these people are just absolutely delusional, and they will do anything to point fingers at everybody else except the decisions that they've made themselves.
Now, speaking of the BBC, based in Bougie, I'm very interested in your view on this one as a black woman, because the BBC have decided that they are going to create, and it's actually James Essex, the brilliant James Essex, who has uncovered this. They've created a black woman's guide to workplace microaggressions. And James says, unsurprisingly, it paints all white people out to be nothing but bumbling caricatures of idiocy. Is this really societal cohesion? I laughed out loud during the video, but I'll get your verdict, based in Bougie. Let's have a watch.
Happy birthday to... Take it away, Amanda!
No, I'm fine.
Oh, come on, it's Sarah's birthday. Let's hear you sing. Sing. Come on, Beyonce.
Happy birthday to you. That was so beautiful. Anyway, who wants some cake?
Yes.
It's not easy being the minority in any situation, but in the workplace, as the only black woman, it can be a very frustrating and stressful environment.
Okay, Beyonce. Now let's get in formation for this kick.
I'm just in the middle of something. I'll be there in a sec.
Oh.
And that, my friends, is an example of a microaggression.
That's real. I promise you that's real. Based in Bougie, do you feel seen, or do you feel patronized by that?
Dan Wootton, I'm packing my bags and I'm leaving this country. The racism was too much. Like, my blood is boiling. But first and foremost, that is not even racism. That is not microaggression. Okay, that is just someone who sees someone who maybe looks different to them and is just trying to find ways to make them happy or trying to find ways to make them comfortable. Because I have been in those situations where I do see people from different communities and they will be like throwing in like black slang, but I don't see it as them being racist. I just see them as them trying to make me comfortable and happy. But the fact that they over exaggerate it to be microaggression and racism is just absolutely silly. Racism is when someone calls you a monkey, or someone says that you deserve to die, or someone calls you the N-word. But this is what's happened with this term racism, is that it's been watered down so much that the real racist situations that are happening in the workforce are no longer being recognized, because apparently calling someone Beyonce and saying occur is racist is absolutely ridiculous.
Also,
it's just not racist.
Also, Stef, like, white people don't do that. Honestly, do they? Unless white people at the BBC are very, very different to the white people that I've encountered. But we don't act like that, do we, Stef?
No, not at all. I was watching that and I was like, this has got to be some kind of resurgence of Little Britain. like a Little Britain reboot or something like that. It feels like a Little Britain gag, or a gag that's being created in a Ricky Gervais program. That clip's more satire than what actually happens in reality. If people are offended in that kind of scenario, seriously check your snowflake kind of levels, because they're way too high at that point.
Well, we know
we don't
know
speak
we
like
can't
Beyonce
make
or like
jokes anymore. We can't make jokes anymore. This is why, because of that type of patronizing bullshit from the BBC. And also, then you've got, it's like a circular firing squad, because it's like the BBC are doing that, but then at the same time, they're being accused of all sorts by Nadiya Hussain, someone who they made a star. It's just like, do you know what? I never used to speak about race at all. I never used to speak about black or white or Asian or anything. It didn't even come into my day-to-day life. And now it's thrust constantly into the conversation so unnecessarily. But look, what a brilliant superstar panel today. Based and Bougie, who you should, of course, find and follow on TikTok, on Instagram, and here on YouTube. And Stef, the alternate YouTube sensation, host of the podcast Political Nerds. Love having you both. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you for your super chats today. Some really good ones. Anthony Lafleur, who's one of our #1 supporters, thank you so much, Anthony, said, even though I'm happy that Ellen DeGeneres and her disgusting wife Portia are no longer here in the US, I don't blame you, Dan, and any of you Brits in the UK for wanting to mock her and make her feel not comfortable. And this is because Ellen DeGeneres has, of course, now confirmed that she's here to stay in the UK because Donald Trump became president. And Anthony, I think you're right. I think we need to talk about this. And at some point this week, we absolutely will. Avatar, thank you for the super chat. He said, I am absolutely disgusted that Farage called the Epping protesters far-right thugs. He still hasn't learned. We gave him our votes. Without us, he is nothing. He would do well to remember that. Oh, amen. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And from Alex Marmon, another super chat, who says, the England women's football team have now said they will no longer take the knee as it's not stopping racism. Why did they not realise that sooner? Oh my God, I know, Alex. And to be honest, I've been totally infuriated by the huge overreaction to this story this week. Look, every single person in public life, I saw Nigel Farage talk about this at the Reform UK press conference yesterday, every single person in public life gets constantly trolled for whatever their characteristics happen to be. So for me, it's because I'm gay. Do you see me running to the police? Do you see me making a huge deal about it? Just ignore the trolls. Honestly, you've got to see that there's a difference between trolling and actually trying to cause someone serious physical harm. And I think we've got to see what that difference is. And thank you too to Jean Wallace for her super chat and sticker, and also to Love Sunshine, who became a member of Outspoken Plus over the course of the show. Okay, time to reveal today's Greatest Britain and Union Jackass. Your nominees for Union Jackass: Anna and Decor, nominated by Anna Island 17 for calling concerned mums and children far-right activists. Nick Lowles, the boss of Hope Not Hate, nominated by Scott Shadow 342 for running a corrupt to the core organisation and putting out a briefing on the far right at the Bell Hotel. And Nicola Sturgeon, nominated by Just Margaret 1, because she started all this trans infiltration of women's spaces, that nonsense with her worship of Stonewall. And of course, to me, Nicola Sturgeon will forever be Scheming Sturgeon. The results are in. She gets just 14% of the vote today. The runner-up is Nick Lowles with 33% of the vote. But today's Union Jackass, who will now compete to be named the worst Briton in the world this week, Narinder Kaur, with 53% of your vote. And today's Greatest Britain, nominated by Mother Clanger, is Katie Hopkins, because despite her show being cancelled in rugby, Mother Clanger says she turned up anyway to take selfies with the crowd who'd paid to see her. And if you do want to see us discuss that in much more detail, just head to the YouTube channel and look at our special video posted last night, where we go into depth about what happened with Katie Hopkins and how she ended up storming the venue anyway without causing any trouble. It was brilliant. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source. and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.